Alright guys, so I'm pretty excited to talk about today's pair of headphones. The pair we're going to check out is the brand new Skullcandy Crusher EVO. Now this is a wireless pair of headphones that's main focus is to rattle the hell out of your head while listening to music. So if you're an audio purist that wants a really flat sound signature, something that's giving you a true to the source sound experience, this is the furthest thing from that. In fact, the whole purpose of this headphone is to give you a bass experience like being in a car with a really nice system and some really nice subs and just basically strapping them to your head. It just gives you a whole different experience than listening to other type of headphones. Now this pair does retail for $200 and I feel like the Crusher EVO kind of sits right in between the Crusher Wireless and the Crusher ANCs. Because the Crusher Wireless I think you can get for about $150 and the Crusher ANC retails for $300 but sometimes goes on sale, so it just kind of depends, but pricing wise it sits in between. But I also feel like characteristic wise it also sits in between. But there is one major thing that I think puts it above both of them, and I think that these have the most bass I've ever felt out of any pair of headphones, and that's comparing them to any of Skullcandy's Crusher lineup. I'm really impressed with these, and so it lived up to the expectations for me. Every time Skullcandy comes out with a new Crusher headphone, it seems like they find a way to tweak them to get a little bit more out of them, and I think they did a hell of a job with these. But let's go ahead and check out some of the specs, some of the features, and what it is you get inside the box. So to start with, these do work with Skullcandy's app, and one of the pluses to that, if you're into this, is Skullcandy has a hearing test where it basically will see if you can hear different tones, and it tries to personalize your listening experience, basically trying to give you a personal EQ based off tones that you respond to. Now for me personally, I still preferred the sound that these had right out of the box, because I felt like when it EQ'd to my sound a little bit, it turned up the treble a little more than I personally like. So that's really just going to come down to the person themselves. I just prefer to leave this custom EQ off, and I think it just sounds incredible left on the default mode. Now other things that the app has, that it has the ability to switch you between music mode, movie mode, or podcast mode. So again, it tries to tone down the bass a little bit and focus in on vocals for podcast. In movie mode, it still tries to push the mids where you can hear dialogue a little better. And then music mode is just trying to turn everything up and just give you this very dynamic sound experience. Now, as far as some other interesting features that these also have the built-in tile tracker. So with the app, you can locate where your headphones are. And I think this is a huge plus, especially if you're somebody that's going to use these outside of the house. It just makes it a little more convenient, and it's peace of mind that you'll be able to find your $200 pair of headphones. Now, as far as what you're getting inside the box, you are getting a carrying pouch, and so you don't have a hard carrying case, which I would have preferred, especially when you're spending $200 on a pair of headphones. But I will say that the carrying pouch is a really nice material. It's a lot thicker. It's not that thin velvety pouch that they've included with a lot of their headphones in the past. It does have a little buckle to it, so it does have a unique look, so I will give it that. Now outside of that, it does come with a 3.5mm headphone cable in case you want to use these wired. And then as far as the charging cable, it comes with a USB-C cable. And speaking of the charging cable, battery life I think is very impressive, because it's stated that you can get around 40 hours of use by using these headphones. Now that kind of depends on how much you're going to boost the bass or how loud you're going to listen to these, but still kind of plan that you're going to get somewhere between 35 to 40 hours. Now, if you do happen to pick these up and they are dead, they also offer the quick charge feature where a 10-minute charge will get you 4 hours of use. Now, that really comes in handy if you're somebody that just kind of forgets to charge your headphones. It's nice to know that you can pick these up and get 4 hours of use on a 10-minute charge. Now moving over to looking at the headphones themselves, I will say from a design standpoint, these really resemble the Crusher ANCs. They're mainly plastic, but I will say I like the fabric type material that they used at the top of the headband. Now underneath, on the part of the headband that's going to be touching your head, it's kind of a silicone rubber material There's not a whole lot of padding here, but it's not really necessary. I don't feel like there's a lot of weight on the top of my head. And as far as the clamping force of these headphones, I think they clamp very nicely. They don't feel loose, but they definitely don't feel tight. And they're also comfortable when I wear glasses. Now, as far as the ear pads on these, they are using a memory foam, and it is very soft. In fact, I feel like the ear pads on these really resemble the Beats Studio lineup. It kind of has that same amount of give, and the pleather or leather type material feels exactly the same. Now, as far as being able to store these away, you can fold the headphones down completely, or you can just swivel the ear cups either in or out. So I like the fact that they allow you to swivel the ear cups any way that you want. Now, as far as the controls on here, all of them are button controls, so there's no swipe gesture like you get on the Crusher A and C. Now, on the left-hand side, you have your power button and you have your bass slider. The bass slider is manual, so you just slide it up depending on how much bass that you want. And then on the right side, you have 3 buttons which allow you for your play, your pause, skipping your tracks forward, going backwards, and your volume control. And one thing that I really like in the design of these that they didn't keep from the Crusher wireless is they don't have the exposed cable inside of the headband. I think this is a very smart design choice. I like when you just run the cables through the headband itself, because if you don't have an exposed cable, that's less things that you can break on the headphone. Now, as far as the microphones on here, I think they do a pretty decent job if you use these to answer calls. I don't think it's going to be anything that blows anybody away, but you guys can be a judge by listening to a test here. Alright guys, so here is a mic test using the Crusher EVOs. Like I said, I think it does a fairly good job of picking up my voice, but this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call. And so now here is a mic test with the crowd noise being played, which you can hear here. And so this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call in public. So now let's talk about the sound, because the first thing that a lot of people want to say is that haptic feedback, basically that impact of bass that it's trying to give you, is not real bass. I don't know how you can consider it not real bass when you can feel it and it's even responding at these lower frequencies and in a very impressive way. It's just different than your normal pair of headphones. So yes, you're not going to compare these to a pair of Sennheisers where it's working on trying to give you a more accurate bass. This is trying to give you that and then dial it up 11 notches. But what makes the Crusher EVOs really special is the fact that they are now acoustically tuned in a way where you're hearing a lot of details in the mids and the treble. I never had any issue with hearing any vocalists. I never had any issue with hearing details in guitars. One thing that I really like is being able to hear and feel when they're hitting the drums, but also being able to hear the cymbals when they're crashing. It just makes you feel like you're dropped in a concert. This is not like going into a studio with someone. This is a different feeling than a normal pair of headphones. You're able to feel bass on the side of your head, around the top of your head. I'm pretty sure I felt something behind my eyeballs. It's an incredible experience altogether. I think that's the best way to explain this. These are giving you a different experience than other headphones. In fact, it's just giving you something that other headphones are not capable of. Now, I do want to say with the bass slider, if you turn it all the way down, it will just kill the bass, which is what you would think it would do. Now, I do want to say as soon as you even slightly bump it up, it's almost like it's an all or none. There's no like just getting a little bit of impact. It even felt like when I bumped it up just that slight little bit, it already starts with that heavy impact. So I do want to say that that's kind of the difference with these as opposed to some of the others. I felt like with the original Crusher wireless, I was able to kind of bump it up just a little bit and the bass impact would just slightly come in. But with these, it's just like it immediately hits you in the face. Now, as far as the soundstage and sound imaging, do not expect this to be a very open pair of headphones because it's not. This really is the ultimate feeling of having 2 large speakers right in front of you, so it doesn't feel like you're in a large environment. But being able to tell where instruments are coming from and being able to hear the details in instruments, these definitely handle with no problem. And now, as great as I think that these are, I do have just a couple little cons with these. One is I wish that they came with a hard case instead of the pouch. As much as I like the design of the pouch, I still think a hard case just makes me feel a little bit better about my $200 purchase. And then my only other complaint is the bass slider. I really wish that it didn't have to go all or none. I wish that, by simply turning it up a little bit, it would just give you a little bit of bass impact, and it doesn't feel like that's there. It feels like as soon as you turn it up, you're just automatically getting that really heavy bass feeling. And some people might prefer that. I just personally like to have the ability to change it as much as I want. But outside of that, I think this is an excellent pair of headphones. It's a different experience compared to other headphones, and I highly recommend these at $200, even though Skullcandy products go on sale all the time. So I think maybe even during the holiday season, you might be able to pick these up for $150. But guys, that's my video on the brand new Skullcandy Crusher EVO. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.